define what you're actually doing day to day, week to week as the Chief Commercial Officer of Arsenal Football Club.
I've got a really simple phrase. What I do, I serve our supporters what they want, when they want, where they want.
Today, we're diving into football, or soccer, depending on where you're listening from. I'm here in London to sit down with Juliet Slot, Chief Commercial Officer at Arsenal Football Club, who's transforming the 140-year-old club into a modern global brand. And it comes at a time with the World Cup on the horizon as well. At the center of Arsenal's approach is a simple idea. Serve your supporters what they want, when they want, where they want. It's not about just filling a stadium, but turning Arsenal into a 365-day experience built on content, community, and connection. In this conversation, we unpack how that all works, from content creation and distribution to growing the women's game into a global business. No matter what team you support, this is your front row seat to hear how marketing can reinvent the game on and off the pitch. Here is my conversation with Juliet. Arsenal are this incredibly dynamic sports club, 140 years old, but acting and behaving in completely modern and progressive ways. I just want to learn from you, and I think all of the audience could learn from what you've been doing as you extend this brand from the streets of North London to the rest of the world.
If we ultimately look after you, all of our supporters around the world, in whatever way they want to engage with the club, and we create that real sense of belonging around the club, everything else will flow from that, whether it's about whether they want to buy a shirt, whether they want to come to a game, whether they want to engage in our content, whether they want to go and watch us on our pre-season tour, or whether they just want to watch us on the television in the market they're in. They want to feel closely connected to the club. And my job is to facilitate that in the best way I can. In the old days, it would be coming to the game, seeing the game, and hopefully giving them a great experience. Today, we have hundreds of millions of supporters around the world. So my job is to help try and serve them in the best way possible, that they can get closer to the club, they can feel that real sense of being part of our family, that sense of belonging that they will have. As you well know, Josh, not everybody decides to be a supporter. They're often intergenerationally born into being a supporter of the club. You can't change once you decide on your football club. It's just not the done thing to change which club you support. So they're with us throughout their lifetime, and we're mere stewards of the club for the supporters. If you have that attitude towards how you then go about your daily life, and you really try and understand those supporters and what they want from you, it makes my job so much easier. Yeah, it's an unusual answer because lots of people would say their job is to make money.
Right.
I don't view that. I think if we do the right thing with the right messaging and the right platform and the right engagement, that will follow, but ultimately it comes from truly serving your supporter.
One of my favorite movies is Moneyball, Brad Pitt movie, Billy Bean and the sort of the sabermetrics and bring that in. Billy Bean in that movie tells the Jonah Hill character that he's not watching the game. And I was just wondering, is there an expectation that you go to every Arsenal game, wherever it is in the world?
I go to every game, every home game. I don't go to every away game. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't see my husband or my family at all.
Yeah.
But I go to every men's home game, every women's home game, and quite a lot of the away games. One, because I love doing it. I love watching it. And it's part of my job, seeing how we perform. And the other part is that I learn every time I go to an away game. I go to a different stadium. I see the customer experience or the supporter experience. So it's really helpful because I'm always learning,
Right.
always trying to find some little nugget that we can take back to do at the Emirates or in some way in some part of the journey for our supporters.
So the reason I wanted you to have on the pod is not just because I'm an Arsenal fan, although funny little story. I started out as an Ipswich fan back in like early 1980s. They just won the FA Cup, but my elder brother was an Arsenal fan, and we used to do this school run with these other families, and all the older boys were Arsenal fans, and I somehow morphed into I'm now an Arsenal fan because I want to be like my elder brother, and here I am. 40 years later, 50 years later, I don't know, whatever it is. And I'm one of your diaspora. I'm around the world watching the games from California, where I live. It is remarkable. And you use the word engagement and community and being part of something. Can you just talk a little bit about how you build, I'm almost scared to say the word brand, but it is a brand, how you build a global brand of something which really has 38 games a year and a few other sort of competitions, but in a set window of time. How do you think about it?
So first of all, we need to know what we stand for. So we have a really clear positioning. Arsenal acts for a winning team, community and culture. So from those three pillars, we then manage everything that we do through the lens of that positioning. So what does that mean? Well, we make sure that we deliver the customer experience or the supporter experience in every way. So whether it's the content that we produce, whether it's the stories that we tell, whether it's the way that we engage with you through our social media channels, everything that we do is driven through the lens of that brand. What we've tried to do over the last few years is really try and manifest that in a much bigger and broader way, globally and digitally, in a way that I think that was really going to tell them the story about what happens in between the games, tell them the behind the scenes, shape the narrative around what the club is 365 days a year. And we've had a huge amount of investment in our content team to allow us to really get closer to both men's, women's and academy teams and to tell their stories in a way that I think really helps shape what you know about the club beyond what you might have seen if you just watched us for all of our games.
So let's just go a little deeper there, because our audience is people building global brands or very strong national brands. You have done a lot to transform Arsenal. I know it's a 140-year-old institution, but Arsenal, whatever you've been doing, has a certain je ne sais quoi. It is seen as a kind of cooler, and it's got the whole North London vibe. And so you just mentioned tools and creating that engagement around the world. What are some of the things which actually have made a difference in the last 4 or 5 years while you've been helping the team do this?
I'll put content aside for a minute because that's an obvious place to go. Just talk about what we've been doing in our retail wear.
Okay.
So we have an amazing partnership with Adidas, but through that partnership, we've done a whole lot of collabs. So for example, 2 years ago, we collabed with a brand called Aries, which is a really great London-based fashion brand. And that we created a whole range of clothing that really kind of resonated with a really cool group of supporters, but it also set us apart from being just selling matchday wear. It was creating a culture range. We've tried to have that way of engaging our supporters in things that they do in their everyday life that kind of resonates and is authentic, that only Arsenal can do that, because it is absolutely something that we have the right to have that conversation around, because in fact we are a very authentic North London brand that is not just a football club, but it's a much bigger community around which so many people come together. So retail is one place, content is another way that we have really tried to engage. And what we tried to do is develop different content streams that is in a way that is answering the different questions that our supporters are asking us. So first of all, we ask them, what do they want? So talking to our supporters all around the world, what kind of content and experiences and products and engagements do you want to have with the club? And we've then tried to develop answers to those questions. So we just launched a new app, which is probably a manifestation of 3 years of that insights and co-creation with our supporters. And that app has got not only just small stories around how we develop the training during the run up to a match day, but that app has also got whole story streams around Martin Odegaard as a modern leader, around Bukayo Saka and his absolute passion and love of music, and he meets an artist called Thames, and they talk together about their shared passion and their shared Nigerian roots. So we're bringing the stories of the players and the people that make Arsenal Football Club to our supporters in a unique and engaging way. But it is actually how a lot of people around the world engage outside of their love of football. They are watching the streamers, they're watching the stories, and we're just bringing that in an authentic Arsenal way. The more that we can understand and personalise the experience of our supporters, the more I can then ask them what they want, and then we can then try and serve them better.
So there's so many ways I can go with this, but I need to ask you about AI. So it's transforming the world, it's transforming marketing. How are you guys thinking about AI as it relates to building your fan base and selling tickets and all the rest of everything you're doing?
Obviously, AI is sort of how long is a piece of string. You can apply it in many different areas. We're testing and learning. So I mentioned on our app, we've developed a For You feed. So we're using generative AI to inform how we then serve different pieces of content to our supporters. I think that's probably the most practical place we're starting on using it within my team. We're also using it in then how we then serve up our archive through the app as well.
Okay, super interesting. Talk about the different type of content. What is a Singaporean fan versus an Indian fan versus a North London fan? Do you see distinct differences in what they want to consume and how they want to engage with the club?
So first thing is I don't dissect our supporter base by nationality. I dissect them by their relationship with the club.
Okay.
So we have 6 segments that we have identified through a really, really big piece of global research. So that might be the person the turnstiler that comes to every home game that has been supported intergenerationally. And then we have what we call some of the other supporter groups where they are maybe big eventers. They've come to us a bit later. They have a little bit more of a distant relationship with us. So what we try and do is create different content streams through a test and learn process that we think they will like, and we then serve them. So if you sign up to our app, which I hope you have, you will see that we have a For You feed.
Yeah.
If you tell us through the different golden questions that we put to you, the types of things that you're interested in in relation to Arsenal, we then use our tech and our infrastructure to try and serve you the different types of content that we think you will like. We then watch and track that, and then over time we'll learn a lot more about you, and then we'll learn a lot more about the types of content that you want more of versus the types of content that you want less of.
Have you thought about, I'm sure you have, what metrics you're using, like engagement in the app, engagement in the Arsenal from afar? How does that translate ultimately into what the business ultimately wants in growing the brand?
So it's a really interesting question because, if you talk about the funnel, we're looking to try and grow as many people into our ecosystem as possible. So if you have a love of Arsenal, but you're not really engaging with us, and we're trying to reach out to you mainly through our social media to say, come and find us and we'll show you how great it is to be engaged and to be part of our community. As you come into our owned and operated, I'm then being much more sophisticated around how we're trying to serve you different types of content and different experiences. And then the more I learn about you, the better I will serve you, and the better that we will then develop things that you really enjoy loving and knowing about Arsenal.
Okay. So that translates into commercial action.
So what my team and I measure is engagement.
Okay.
So the more there's volume and there's engagement. And I'm a great believer that the more engaged you are, the more that you are feeling part of a community.
Yeah.
So it's a really simple metric. Lots of people say, oh, if you had a video view for 3 seconds, that's an engaged supporter. I want the video view to be significantly longer. I want you to watch more videos on a more regular basis. I've always said that if you wake up in the morning and you pick up our app and you look at a piece of content on a daily or even a 3 or 4 times a week basis, then we are then delivering you what you want, when you want, where you want. For us, that engagement has to be the more that you are in our owned and operated channels, the more that we are then better serving you, and therefore we can understand you better. And it's a virtuous circle of engagement, support, development. And then there's that wonderful piece of trying to test and learn something that we don't necessarily know that you want, to see whether it is something you do want to see more of. And we're going to try that a lot over the next 2 or 3 years. Different types of content that might be not what you would call mainstream, that we can see, actually, we think that we can push the way that we tell different stories around the club to our supporters and see whether they want more of that.
What is a piece of content in the last couple of years that just popped? You were surprised by the fact that it popped?
Around our women's games, we've been looking at doing some really interesting different pieces of content. And through one insight we had is that a lot of single people physically come to the stadium to watch our women's games. It's a safe place. It's a place where they have an amazing experience. And then because you're sitting next to somebody and you're having that shared experience, quite often you start talking. So we had a little bit of insight that where people were actually meeting each other at our women's games. So we decided to do a call out to say we wanted to create a dating game. Encourage people, do you want to come and be on a blind date through Arsenal? And it went viral. Absolutely viral. We had so many people apply to be on the actual experience.
And any weddings coming out of this yet? Not yet.
Not yet. But what I love about that is that tells something really insightful about what football is, because it is a community of belonging. So if you go, for example, you come over from California to London, chances are you either know someone here who's going to watch an Arsenal game with you, or you'll go, where all the different supporter clubs, where will I go and watch a game? Well, I'll find other people who love the club and share that passion. Well, if you think about that, that is like an extraordinary position for a community, is that you will always going to find somebody in your community wherever you go in the world. That's an amazing brand or club to be a part of, because there is always something for everybody in Arsenal. And I think that's what's so wonderful, is that, our women's games just gave us that little insight, because we were bringing new people in who'd never been to football before, coming to watch an Arsenal women's game, and they were meeting each other. We're
going to talk about the women's game in just a second. I just want to follow up though, but as you've been at Arsenal 4 years now, right? Yeah. It sounds like, chief commercial officer. It sounds like you're the chief content officer. Like how much of the team now is actually, you're a publisher, you have editors, you have sort of social media videographers, and you're responsible for this content.
So I passionately believe that we have an extraordinary opportunity to use content to tell our stories. I am not the chief content officer, what I'm very lucky to have is I feel like I'm the conductor of an amazing orchestra of curators, but we also have a lot of co-creators in our supporters.
Right.
So we are really aligned in this ethos around the club that it's us and also our supporters around us helping us co-create, whether they're creating content that we repost or they're being part of helping us develop the right content that they want to know about.
I'm going to ask you one of my favorite Arsenal content creators. He's on YouTube Shorts, on YouTube, he's on TikTok. He's called Rory, as Rory Talks Football, Rory Talks Arsenal. What you're describing is brands as content creators and creative and engagement marketing, but you have to cede some control, right? You can't do it all yourself. So you have to bring these people into the fold in some capacity and sort of help direct them and steer them. Is there a tension there for you? Like, how does it feel doing that, handing over your brand to other people?
Well, first of all, I don't think we hand over the brand because we always co-create. So co-creating means you work out what you want to do and you do it together. We're not responsible for the content that is developed by a lot of the narrators around Arsenal.
You're right.
And long may they last, because the more people talking about us, the better, as far as I'm concerned. What we can be in control of is the content we create ourselves and the content that we co-create with many, many different people. And I think that no one really wants us to do anything that's really going to damage the club because we all care so passionately about it. Everyone cares that we have a club that is really passionate around winning major trophies, that is doing it in the right way, that has the way of turning up in a one club ethos. There's so much strong passion around the club. So I don't really feel that many people trying to trip us up who are part of our community.
Coming back to community. So back in the day at Google, we've gone through this journey, creating content, bringing in partners, working with people. And there's nothing worse than your uncle putting on a leather jacket and turning up at the club and trying to be cool, right? And so that balance between when we get it right and when we get it wrong. And there's been occasions where we've turned up kind of wearing the metaphorical leather jacket where it just hasn't worked. As you've gone through this journey, have there been any moments where you go, we just got that wrong? And what caused you to get it wrong? Or to just to be nice, let's find one way you've hit it out of the park. So what's been your favorite content partnership over the last 4 years? What's been a moment where you learned something? We just crossed the line we didn't realize we were crossing.
My favorite content partnership is one we developed with Aries, because we developed a range of clothing, but we also developed a real great, strong narrative around what that clothing was and what it stood for. And we developed the most amazing piece of creative together with the players, filmed in a church. It was a little bit of a play on the word community, because church is community, and we were creating this. So that for me was a really, really exciting piece of content. Not something that necessarily someone would expect a football club to do, but that's because I genuinely think that we have that right to play in the culture fashion world. In terms of things that we haven't done so well, I would say that sometimes we have tried to sell something. We've tried to promote, again, probably through some of our retail, but tried to promote a product and sell it. And we get caught out immediately because actually the supporters are going, well, you're trying to sell me something here. It goes back to my mantra. We want to serve our supporters what they want, when they want, where they want. Sometimes we've sold them what we want, when we want, where we want. And I would say that making sure we don't revert to that and constantly try and do what we think is right for our supporters, even if we think we're not going to do as well as we would have done if we just kind of volumized and put everything out on mass email. I think ultimately that is the right way to generally be the right type of club that I want us to be, because we are building a long-term financially sustainable club. And that means taking the long journey rather than the quick sale.
Let's talk about the women's game a little bit. And the starting point here is can we talk about it from a commercials perspective, right? Mm-hmm. Arsenal women's soccer team is the most successful soccer team in women's team in the UK. As I understand it, it's the highest revenue generating women's soccer club in the world. So just talk about the business decisions along the way and some of the choices you made to actually scale this women's team and the women's game overall.
I've had the great luck throughout my career to do a lot of work in women's sport, right from when I was at Adidas back in the day, and have always been passionate about it. So Arsenal started our women's team over 40 years ago. We had, in my opinion, we had the right to genuinely say, let's build something out of this. And we put together a strategy that was going to originally play a few games at the Emirates and put some marketing money behind.
You sold out the Emirates women's games now,
so,
right?
Yeah, but that's what happened. And I mean, This is about timing and luck and also having a great plan, because we wrote a plan, we got the investment in that budget, and then our women's team won the Euros. And I will tell you, the night that we won the Euros, Leah Williamson said at the end of the game, she said, "This is great. Thank you everyone for supporting England. Make sure you come and support us in the WSL." We had actually put on our game, we were going to play Arsenal, we were going to play Spurs at the Emirates. It was the first time we were going to play the North London derby for a women's game at the Emirates. And that night, our ticketing system crashed because everybody went on to try and buy tickets. And we knew then that there was something really strong here. But the thing that we did, which I'm so proud of with the team, is that we looked at who bought those tickets, and we immediately identified the 3 different audiences that were really interested in women's football. And we used data and insights to build a whole creative campaign to encourage them to come. And then we started asking them why we were coming, building on understanding why they're coming, and then literally investing in the marketing to encourage them to come. So if you think about it from a men's game, we don't market tickets for a men's football game because we sell out for every game. So we had to bring in a whole new set of skills to learn how to sell tickets. And we looked at different sports, and we looked at how we're going to understand people. And this is about understanding what the product is, which is different to the men's game. And secondly, trying to find new audiences, because we only sold 18% of those tickets were people who come to our men's games. So we're literally 80% of the people that have been coming to our women's games are a new audience. So we needed to learn, understand them, and then we needed to understand how to create their environment in the stadium. And so this season we've been doing something called block by block, and each of the blocks, so last season we sold 18,000 season tickets to our women's games in a mixture of full seasons and then 8 games and 5 game packages. But there are 18,000 people who have committed to come virtually every game.
Right.
So we said to them, well, let's go block by block, and we've done focus groups with them. How can we make this your experience, and how can we shape your experience of the Emirates? And so some of them have created tifos. We've worked with them on the music. We had Olivia Smith came to one of the focus groups. What music do the players want to walk out to? So we've created this huge community that is different to the community that comes to our men's games, but they're our women's games community, but they're all part of the Arsenal community, but they have slightly different needs. And so what's been so fascinating is what you would never have imagined, that would be a whole new group of people coming. I didn't imagine that.
I would have assumed that it was going to be, 80% current men's fans who turn up for the women's. And you're saying it's exact reverse of that, only 18%. I just want to go back to partnerships again. How do you know you're working with someone who you're actually going to work well with? And can you tell beforehand?
Yes, I'm very lucky that we have an amazing set of partners. We say no to people that we don't feel that we have shared values with, because we'll ultimately fail them. The best partnerships in the world are where there's a united business objective that we think we can deliver. Our global platform is unbelievable. But we want to make sure that we can deliver on that global platform for our partners. And also, going back to the supporters, we don't want it to jar. Yeah. We don't want it to be something that our supporters go, why are they telling me that? Whereas I would say, I could put my hand on my heart and say, I don't think in the last 2 years we've run a campaign that I wouldn't be proud to share with our supporters on behalf of our partners.
That's a great place to be. Let me ask you a slightly sensitive question. We're also a partner, Google that is, with Liverpool Soccer Club. And at the end of last season, when Mo Salah scored the 5th goal of the game or something, when he scored, he ran over to the sideline, and in the game they won the championship, grabbed a pixel phone, took a selfie, and that selfie was all over the front page of the newspaper. Mm-hmm. I thought it was great marketing. I thought it was brilliant and genius. There was some backlash to that. So you don't have to comment directly on that, but where's the line in terms of being too interruptive, too disruptive, and how you sort of manage that decision?
So that was one of the most authentic moments I think that a partner could have ever had, because if he hadn't grabbed a pixel, and he would have taken any phone. There happened to be a pixel because the pixel was there; it was handed to them. But actually, when you win, what do? The first thing you want to do is take a photo to remember the moment, and you want to share it around the world. So for me, that was the most brilliant piece of marketing, because it didn't jar at all. And I could only imagine that a few people will go, oh, it's a bit commercial, but I think the majority of people would have gone, that's amazing.
Every now and then you see something that someone else does, and you go, I wish I'd done that. It was such a clever piece of marketing by the UK marketing team here. What's the last time you saw something that another sports team has done, you went, oh, that's really smart?
One of the things I think we've done brilliantly is what we've done with Adidas. And this is a bit more serious, but I think it's important for us. So We can do things to launch new products and ranges, but one of the things we really want to do is we want to make sure that together we do something that actually resonates and does something important in the community. So we run a campaign with them. We've done it for the 5 years of the partnership called No More Red. So as you know, knife crime is a challenge in London, and we, Arsenal, in our community department, have been doing projects to try and eliminate and reduce knife crime for years. What we've done with Adidas is they came to us and said, how can we do something authentic and purposeful in the community and make a difference? And we said, can you help shine a light on the projects we do against knife crime? It's a really simple idea. So a big partner comes together with a project that's quite small, but we're running in our community. They've shine a light on it and promote it globally. And it was probably, I say for the club, we have like 30 million people around the world watching the BBC front page when we first launched it with Idris Elba and various other people talking about the challenges of knife crime. And we've done it not just once, we've done it every year. And we have a commitment with them throughout our partnership to do something around that every year. That for me is really powerful, that we're doing something that's not selling. It's about actually using the platform that we have and they have together to do something that is really, really important in our community.
At a practical level, every marketing organization, every company struggles with being one unified team. Everyone's got their own goals and needs and timelines. How have you created that one club ethos and actually getting teams to work together and collaborate and move forward as one?
You could have silos. Organizations do not work. What we have is a really united executive and board. Starts from the top, from our ownership, very clear on what we want to achieve. We have a strategy that everybody is signed up to, and that strategy we talk about regularly, whether it's in our Be Together forums, which is for all of our staff, whether it's when I'm helping support, as I did, some of the image rights deals for some of our players, sat alongside Edu when he was doing it with some of the players, talking about what we're trying to do, what we stand for, what our brand stands for, and how that manifests itself in everything we do across the club. Having one united marketing function. I don't have a women's marketing function, a men's marketing function. We have a unified function. So we have a very clear strategy and a very clear vision, and everybody knows what we stand for, and everybody comes to work knowing their role in what we stand for. That is not easy to achieve, and we have to keep reminding ourselves, we have to keep talking about it, we have to keep prioritizing to make sure that we're not trying to be everything to everybody. But if we are all united together behind what we stand for, we have already begun to see the success off the back of that.
And I'm not quite sure what the lesson here is for the rest of us, but as a long-suffering Arsenal fan, Arsenal haven't won the championship in 21, 22 years. They haven't won that many trophies in the last 10 years. And sport has typically been about winning, absolutely. And what you're describing is finding wins in other ways and being part of something as you build towards eventually getting the big one.
Yeah, because we know that we're going to win a trophy at some point. When it is, I don't know. I'm not going to say that, but we know that everything we do, part of our 3 pillars, is winning major trophies and winning financially and winning with our supporters. Those are our 3 pillars strategically that we work to. And we look back at that and we consistently mark ourselves against that. We know that we've invested in our football, men's and women. We hope that will deliver a trophy. But the journey has also got to be fun. And the journey to get there is to win with our supporters so that we might not win this trophy, have won it last season, but you had an amazing experience of being part of the Arsenal community because we started to serve you better, we started to listen to you, we started to really try and develop products, services, experiences that you want from us. So that even if it wasn't that winning trophy last year, there was an amazing amount of moments along that journey that was really fun to be a part of.
The community, the work you've done, I do not see at certain other clubs, and you should be incredibly proud of that. And I'm not just saying because I'm an Arsenal fan, but it's so clear that some other clubs have bought their way into what they have and they're kind of paper tigers or something, even if they win a few things.
I would say every Premier League football club and most Championship football clubs have community departments. Football starts in the community, whether it's kicking a ball in the street, whether it's going to one of those inner city cages. It's a place where people come together to do something they love. And so I think that most football clubs come out of community. We don't often talk about it because it might not be sexy or it seem to be exciting, but it's absolutely rooted in what we do. And I would say a lot of football clubs.
Which is great. And I think from a marketer's perspective, you have to believe in your product. You have to believe in your brand. You have to believe it serves a purpose more than just adding a couple of zeros to the bottom line of the corporation you happen to be working for. That's what great marketing is all about.
I've got a mantra. I want to work with people I like, doing something I love with a purpose that I'm proud of. Like all of those at Arsenal, I think you probably ask, most people at Arsenal would say that.
That sounds like a good T-shirt logo somewhere.
Yeah, I should do. I should make my own T-shirt.
Why not? Okay, let me get you, I'm going to ask a couple of these signal and noise questions, okay? These are meant to be...
I'm told there's no wrong answer here.
These are just meant to be quick-fire answers, right? And I'm going to try and add in a few silly ones. So, Juliet, football clubs should think of themselves as entertainment properties more than sports teams. Signal or noise?
Noise.
Eventually, sports clubs will make more money away from game day and all the other activities than the actual game day ticket receipts.
Signal. That should be the answer, because you have a global supporter base and we only have a stadium of 60,000 people. So
I agree. It makes sense. Signal or noise, at some point in the future, virtual stadium watching of games will be bigger than the actual stadium.
Noise. There's nothing like live sport. Nothing like it. And I think it's really interesting. Lots of people talk about the fact that the broadcast world is a challenge because the younger generation don't want to watch live. I don't see that. I have my own children. The live experience and knowing that goal and seeing that live goal, I still genuinely believe. I think they might be watching it on the second screen, definitely, but not replacing.
Have you been to COSM?
Yeah, fantastic. It's amazing. It
is utterly amazing. And the notion of that experience around the world, I think, that the miniaturization of cameras and the way that now they can do sort of, Google's technology allows you to do this sort of virtual cameras where you get the experience as if the camera is there, even though the camera's not there. It's kind of, never say never, but it's kind of remarkable how, to your point, technology is transforming our world in such powerfully exciting ways.
So COSM is a brilliant example of how you can have a live experience not in the stadium, but it's as live. I've been to the COSM in LA because their venue is just next to the SoFi Stadium, and I've watched a game there, and it's just phenomenal. And for us, if we could have COSMs all around the world showing our games and giving our supporters that near real experience in such a way, I think be fantastic.
Yeah, this isn't a signal or noise, but I'm just fascinated. What has been the biggest fangirl, fanboy moment for you with a celebrity or former player who you've got to meet at Arsenal?
It's going to sound really girly, but Tom Hiddleston came to a game the other day, and he's absolutely my most famous. He's the most famous actor that I really, really, really enjoy watching. We're really hoping that Anne Hathaway is going to come to a game at some point because she's a massive Arsenal fan. In fact, we've got unbelievable fans around the world from the world of sort of famous people. But yeah, no, my sort of girl moment was Tom Hiddleston.
I have friends who would understand why. Can I just ask?
He's a great dancer.
You guys have a good night. We have to turn the cameras off and hear the real goss here. And maybe picking a little here, but just I think Arsenal has got a brand reputation which is cooler than the trophies and success it's had on the pitch, at least in the men's game. Do you see that? Like how have you crafted that fact that these celebrity fans from across the world are actually into this club and just representative of a much larger group of people who have come to the club, love the club, even though you haven't won the Champions League in a very long time?
I think generally everybody loves what we stand for, and we're so authentic in that, and they feel really part of our community. I mean, we're really lucky that the Premier League is shown in America. That was a decision made 20 years ago, and some of the celebrities that support us, they've found us. I'd love to ask them all. Everyone comes to us in a different way, and they find us through different routes, and it'd be amazing to understand that. But I don't want to be so boring to say that we just stand for something really unique. We stand for something that we're really authentic around how we show up in every single way. And that doesn't jar. And that makes us inclusive. It makes us something that people want to be a part of. And I can't answer completely how everyone came to us, but I keep finding more and more people that have come to us in different ways from acting and from music. And everything they say is that we love what you stand for in everything you do. We love how you show up, and we want to be a part of it.
Love it. Juliet, thank you so much. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you for having me.
Before we wrap, I want to leave you with 3 takeaways to carry into your week. Think of these as your field notes from the frontier. First, think outside the stadium. Football may peak for 90 minutes on the field, but the best brands show up every day, everywhere, in ways that bring people closer. Whether it's building content, community, or creative experiences, the relationships between a brand and fans extends beyond the moment itself. Second, play the long game. It's easy to default to selling and pushing for quick wins, but the real value comes from building trust over time. You may not need to think 140 years ahead, but you need to think long-term. Third, think fans first. If you're stewarding a brand, it's not what you want to say, but what your audience actually needs. So when you serve them first and get that right, growth isn't forced. It's naturally what follows. Maybe that's the through line from today's episode. The game might last 90 minutes, but the relationship should last a lifetime. This is the work at the Frontier. Be sure to follow, rate, and review Frontier CMO on YouTube or wherever you get your shows. Thank you for joining us. For research, case studies, and tools to help you lead through this next platform shift, visit thinkwithgoogle.com, where we track the signals, cut through the noise, and share what leaders are actually testing in real time. We'll be back next episode with another leader operating at the Frontier. Until then, stay sharp and stay out front. And of course, for those of you who are real fans, come on, you Gunners.